your host, Monte Perez, aka the Sports Whisperer. You can follow me on all sorts of social media. You go to Twitter, Monty JP231, Facebook, Monty Perez, and Instagram, Monty Perez2. That is with an E, not a Y. And if you notice down on the bottom, I got my Oregon Duck colors running the stream. So you got to love that. It's taken a while to get everything get us acclimated to what's happening, but I can't thank you enough. The outpour, the views have been amazing. And if you want to comment live, just go to the comment section on the top right-hand corner. They are hilarious. Our goal is to be on the air 5 days a week, and I can only do that with your help. So if you like sports and comedy, tell your friends, tell your family members. And I can only do this with the help of our guests. We are jam-packed, loaded today. At 11:15, Chuck Mogensen and Jay DeGroat will join us to talk about the Mets and the New York Jets. And then A. Marie will talk about the Minnesota Vikings, and Daniel Goodwin III will break down the Bears. Listen, guys, I think this division, the NFC North, is going to be the most competitive division in football. We haven't even talked about the Detroit Lions, who are definitely going to be um, one of the factors in this division. I think the Packers, they went 11-3 last year. I think the Packers are going to take a step back. And what I mean by that is I still think they're going to make the playoffs, but I think 11 wins is going to win that division. So I'm so happy to have both of those guests on. And then we are so excited. The Nuts and Bolts Sports Crew is going to join us. Joe Cardozo, owner, operator, writer, the creator of Nuts and Bolts Sports, will join us. And he's going to break down college football along with Jeff Barnes. Jeff Barnes has a host. He's the host of his own show Wednesday nights, 9 p.m., No Huddle Necessary. I was actually the first winner ever of No Huddle Necessary 2 weeks ago. So you want to check them out. And then, of course, we close the show with Rico. Show me the money, Graziano. Rico's going to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, some NFL notes, and also a new segment to this show. At the end, Rico is just going to, we call this Rico's Ramblings. If you see the clip here is from Napoleon Dynamite. Rico's just going to talk trash like this guy's doing right here, Uncle Rico from the movie. I don't know what Rico's going to say, but it's sure to be entertaining. So definitely check that out. But first, before we start the show, I want to wish my niece, Alexa, a very, very happy birthday. She turns 24 years old today. My niece, Alexa, happy birthday to you. If you look at this graph, this is pretty much what's going on right now with COVID-19. But I just want to share a quick story about my niece, Alexa, since it is her birthday. I will never forget the time I picked her up. She was probably about 3 years old, and I was taking her to my parents, her grandparents' house for the weekend. And she got into the seat in the back seat of the car, and she's just smiling. She's just smiling. And after about 2 minutes, I start to get a little worried. We stop at a light. She's just looking out the window, and she's smiling. So I call my sister, Cynthia, and I say, hey, did you put some whiskey in Alexa's bottle? Did you give her something to drink? She's smiling the whole time. So my sister, we put her on speakerphone and we say, Alexa, what are you so happy about? And Alexa says, I'm just thinking. And I said, thinking about what? She goes, ice cream. Ice cream? I mean, think about this. When was the last time, okay? When was the last time you smiled about anything for 2 or 3 minutes? Ice cream. Ice cream. Now, just think about this. Let's say you're an Uber driver, or let's say you pick up your friend, and the friend's in the back seat, and they're smiling for 3 or 4 minutes, and you ask them, hey, man, what are you so happy about? And they say ice cream. You would think they were drunk or high. Ice cream. So, Alexa, happy birthday to you. Wherever you are, I hope that you have as much ice cream as you can, as much ice cream as you want. Now, let's get to the show. We start each show with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, the theme of this show The theme of the good, the bad, and the ugly all day is two things. One, accountability, and two, broccoli. Broccoli, you say? Yes, I say broccoli. Okay, so the NBA has a pulse again. Of the 346 players tested on the Disney campus, zero have tested positive for the coronavirus. The league announced in a joint statement with the Players Association, players are taking accountability. Now, I said on March 11th, when the NBA stopped because of the coronavirus pandemic, I said on my podcast, I said in articles, and I said to anyone who'll listen, watch what sports do. When sports return, we know it will be safe. Now, I posted out. I'm very happy that all the NBA players have tested negative. And someone said to me, "Hey, Monte, we don't live in a bubble like they do. This is literally me when I go to the store. Bubble boy. Try to protect myself as much as possible. But yes, we don't live in a bubble, but we know what works, right? We know what works. Wearing a mask, as you see by this graph, works. Again, I wear a mask everywhere I go. There's me. There's me on my bike ride. Okay? I am literally the bubble boy. I am literally the bubble boy. But I do have concerns with the NBA. Lou Williams, the Clippers' sixth man of the year, Mr. Instant Offense. Lou Williams went to visit his family in a so-called emergency. By the way, I've never done this before, and if I ever do the air quotes again, I want you to stop watching this show. That was terrible by me. Terrible. But Lou Williams, on his way back to Orlando, Lou Williams went to a strip club. A gentleman's club. I just did it again. A gentleman's club. So now Lou Williams is going to be in quarantine for 10 days. 10 days. Lou Williams, terrible job by you. Remember, accountability. Accountability. That is what we're focusing on in the good, the bad, and the ugly. And broccoli, which we'll get to in a minute. So now the bad. Okay, I mean, there's all sorts of trolls. This is something that should be celebrated, and it's not being celebrated. Okay, Alyssa Nakin made history on Monday, becoming the first woman to coach on the field in a Major League Baseball game. And this is great news. But of course, the trolls are out. Someone said on my Twitter feed that he's been watching the San Francisco Giants for 30 years, and now he can't watch anymore because, to quote him, how can I teach my son how to play baseball when he's going to grow up to be coached by a woman? I mean, really, dude? Really? Dude, if you're not going to watch, bye. Bye-bye. Okay? Bye-bye. I don't care if you're not going to watch the game because this is something that should be celebrated, right? We have the first woman coaching in Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball. This is a great thing. And don't tell me that women can't coach because they never played. Okay, she played softball. Becky Hammond of the San Antonio Spurs played in the WNBA, legendary player. Okay, don't tell me that women can't be announcers because they never played or they never played professionally. I don't want to hear that. Marv Albert is 5'5", weighs 120 pounds. Marv Albert is a Hall of Fame announcer. Okay? Bob Costas is 5'5". I have more change on my couch, in my couch right now, than what Bob Costas weighs. He's a Hall of Famer. Mike Greenberg of Mike and Mike, now Get Up on ESPN, said he was the worst athlete in his high school. He's a legendary broadcaster. So I don't want to hear this. If you've never played, you can't be, associated with a major league team, and you can't be successful. Listen, I don't care if an aardvark coaches my team. Okay? I went from Rex Ryan to Todd Bowles to this guy, Adam Gase. Maybe we should hire a woman to coach the Jets. Maybe they'll finally get to a Super Bowl. Since 1969, they have not been to a Super Bowl. So if you're not going to watch a team because there's a woman coaching or a minority coaching, Major League Sports don't need you. Major League Sports doesn't need you. So we had the good, we had the bad, and now we have the ugly. Now look, I'm going to say this, and people, just so you know, this is not a political statement. I'm going to list a bunch of people right here who have a job, and I have no idea why. This is Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell has represented Kentucky for 35 years. And if you look at the charts here, again, this is not a political statement. This is fact. Okay? This is fact. They are in the bottom in every major category. Mitch McConnell has an approval rating of 18%. Wait for it. Wait for it. Broccoli making the appearance. Look at that graphic. Broccoli has more of an approval rating than Mitch McConnell. Broccoli. Okay, Mitch McConnell's at 18%. Now, someone else who's had a job for way too long, James Dolan, still runs the Knicks. The Knicks have one playoff series win since 2000. 20 years he's been running the New York Knicks organization, and 20 years he has failed. 20 years he has failed. He has an approval rating of 17%. Now, he brought in Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas was a disaster with the Knicks. Isaiah ran the team. He was a general manager and president. He brought in players that he thought would help the team. Then he went to become a coach for the Knicks. So he was doing everything. The players he brought in, he then traded a year later, and he had to pay the teams. He had to pay the teams to take their salary. That's how bad Isaiah Thomas is. I was watching NBA TV the other day, and they had Isaiah Thomas on, and they called him an NBA expert. How is this guy failing? He ran the CBA, the former minor league organization of the NBA, into the ground. They went bankrupt. 33-49, 23-59. Again, James Dolan brought in Phil Jackson. Phil Jackson was rumored to be getting offers 3 years, $10 million from other teams. James Dolan said, I'm going to offer you 5 years, $60 million. And now they're bringing in Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is going to be the new head coach of the Knicks. It's going to be a disaster. Thibodeau had 62 wins, 50 wins, 45 wins, 48 wins, 50 wins, 31, 47, and 19. Players can't stand Tom Thibodeau. He's a defensive coach in an offensive-minded league. He is the Rex Ryan of the NBA. Again, James Dolan, 17% approval rating. Broccoli has a higher approval rating than James Dolan. And now finally, Daniel Snyder. Daniel Snyder has been in charge of the Washington football team for 20 years. Okay? He's had 12 losing seasons, compiled an 8-8 record 3 times. He's hired 8 coaches in 20 years. There's now a sexual harassment lawsuit pending that's been going on for like 15 years. Remember, the Redskins won a Super Bowl with 3 different quarterbacks. Joe Theismann in 82, Doug Williams in 1987, Mark Rippon in 1991. Daniel Snyder, amongst DC fans, has an approval rating of 16%. One more time, Broccoli has a higher approval rating than Daniel Snyder, right? And now finally, and we're going to talk about this with Woody Johnson. Jets owner Woody Johnson has recently been investigated by the State Department watchdog over allegations that he made inappropriate comments to some of his staff while serving as the United States ambassador to the United Kingdom, a job which he's had since 2017, according to CNN. One of the main accusations against Johnson is that he made racist generalizations about black men and questioned why the black communities celebrate Black History Month. And he also made some cringeworthy remarks about women. The report also notes that he struggled, say it out loud, he struggled to get on board at an event that was being held to celebrate International Women's Day. International Women's Day. Look, I'm not going to say this to mock Woody Johnson. I'm not going to say this to make fun of him, and don't take these words out of context. Woody Johnson's brother, Keith, died of a drug overdose in 1975. His daughter, Casey, was a drug addict for years. She was found dead in her apartment. She was engaged to reality star Tia Tequila. Woody Johnson said that Tia Tequila was a bad influence, and he didn't approve of her relationship with another woman. And here's what I'm going to say, Woody. You want to make these asinine comments. You want to say racist things. You want to degrade women. Look at your own backyard, dude. Look at your own backyard. 2 of your family members struggle with addiction, and you're going out and trying to, make fun of other people? Look to yourself. Accountability. Accountability. That's what the about accountability. And of course, our star in the opening rant has not been me. It's not been the fans who are commenting right now. It's been this guy, Broccoli. So we're going to bring on Jay DeGroat, and we're also going to bring on Chuck Mogensen. Guys, how are you today?
Doing well. How you doing?
Doing good. How you doing, Monte?
I'm doing good. Can you guys hear me okay?
Great. Yeah, loud and clear. Yep.
Okay. Listen, we try to start this show, and we try to make people happy. So I'm going to start with something that you might not like, but it's probably going to make you laugh a little bit because it always makes me laugh. And that's the butt fumble. I mean, this symbolizes the Jets right now, doesn't it? And then I'll bring you one more here to really just change the mood and get you guys up. Chuck, talk about this moment right here. Pete Alonso breaking the home run record last year.
This was a great moment here. You got a young guy coming in and making an impact, and he's brought some rejuvenation to this Mets team, where it was all about David Wright for a lot of years. He reminds me of a younger, bigger, more enthusiastic version of David Wright. So this was a great time for the Mets here.
Yeah, and guys, what we're going to do is, I know I said I gave you guys some questions early on, but let's get to the Jets right away as I put the Jet background up for you guys. Jay, I'll start with you. Listen, the Jets traded Jamal Adams, and a lot of people are saying, hey, this is a great move because he was unhappy, right? He was unhappy. But here's the problem I have, and it's the same problem with being a Knicks fan. I don't care how many first-round draft picks the Jets get, they never last in New York. Yeah. They're going to leave. So if you're going to tell me, hey, they got 2 first-round picks and a third-round pick, am I supposed to think, guys, that the New York Jets organization, Adam Gase, Woody Johnson, are smarter than Pete Carroll? Jay, you're up first.
No. Honestly, it was a bad week for the Jets. You covered it in the beginning when you talked about Woody Johnson and everything that happened. I was a defender of Jamal Adams for a while. For a long time, I thought the organization didn't do what they said they were going to do. They were going to talk to him. They were going to talk about an extension, etc. This is just another, in my opinion, another example of why the Jets organization is the organization that they are. I heard you talk earlier about James Dolan. It seems like, with the exception of the Yankees, New York ownership in all sports just seem to be incompetent. But I will say that this organization took a really bad hit this week. I know that everyone has said that it was a great haul, 2 first-round picks, a third round. But just like you said, Monte, name the last star that stuck around in a New York Jet uniform.
Chuck, give us your thoughts on that. First of all, Chuck, got to compliment you on the background, man. That is nice stuff right there. Now, are those your trophies, or are those your son trophies on the left there?
On the left there, those are an eclectic mix of my son's and my daughter's trophies.
I like the background.
Thank you. Yeah, my office is in a little bit of a transition here, but I think that you see the Revis helmet right above my
Yeah,
pen,
I see
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a Darrell Revis helmet. Yeah, so Monty, my thoughts on the departure of Jamal Adams. I'm not happy about it at all. Obviously, what I think is I think the front office, puts a little too much credence in what Adam Gase, has to say about this situation. Unfortunately, we've talked about this on your show before. Adam Gase has lost the locker room. He has, and I don't think he backs his players. I think that there is a disconnect between him and the team. And I think when you have your vocal player, leader, and your head coach that are butting heads, I think it promotes a division amongst the rest of the players. And I know earlier this week Jamal Adams had made a comment that after some of the tough losses that they had, Adam Gase wouldn't even address the team in the locker room. He would take one of his assistant coaches and have him go and address the team. And I just, to be honest with you, I would love to see Adam Gase take a seat and Jamal Adams still be in the Jet uniform. But obviously that's not going to happen. So we need to figure some stuff out here.
Ashton Davis, we talked about this. The third-round pick out of California is a safety. They're high on him, but I knew Adam Gase. I knew Adam Gase was going to trade him. Someone said on Sports Radio, I forget who said it, but they said the more talent you have, the more money you make, the less Adam Gase likes you. Listen, we went from Rex Ryan, who was very successful his first 2 years, who turned into a disaster. We went from Todd Bowles and now Adam Gase. They just keep getting it wrong. But let's move to something a little more positive. Want to talk about the Mets here. Again, we posted the Pete Alonso home run, breaking the record last year. You have Jacob deGrom, the two-time Cy Young winner. There's optimism for the Mets. Jay, let's start with you. I didn't like what they did yesterday. It was a heartbreaking loss. They're up 2-1. Diaz comes in, gives up a home run, 2 strikes, 2 outs. He has not had 2 consecutive complete game saves. But this is what really bothers me. The conventional wisdom, Jay, is 3, 4, 5. If you can do it, left, right, left. The first game they had Conforto up 4th because he's a lefty. You have Pete Alonso up 3rd. He's a righty. Yoenis Cespedes up 5th, a righty. Yesterday, he moves Conforto, moves him to the 6th spot. Conforto goes 3 for 3. Leave Conforto, leave the 3, 4, 5 in the same lineup. Don Mattingly always batted 3rd. Wade Boggs batted 3rd. I'm not saying Conforto is at that level, but when you have a lefty who can hit for power at average, leave him. Let him get comfortable. Baseball is all about comfortable. And in the situation we're in right now, where they're paying 60 games, no fans, you got to make these guys as comfortable as possible. Do you like that 3, 4, 5 lineup that I just mentioned?
Yeah, I think we talked about it, and I think I said to you that's a perfect lineup. I really like it. I think Conforto's the biggest knock on Conforto in his early years with the Mets was that he was almost asked to do too much. I don't know if he's that type of player, but when you put him between Pete Alonso and Yoenis Cespedes, it takes all the pressure off of him. I will also say I agree with you 100%. In a 60-game season, especially, guys want consistency. They want to know where they're playing. Athletes are the most comfortable. I mean, that's why we talk about athletes. They eat the same meal before games. They have the same pregame ritual. They want to be comfortable. The things have to be the same. And when you're coming to the ballpark and you don't know if you're batting 3rd or 6th, 4th or 7th, I think that plays on your ability to be consistent and be ready. I think there's too much over-guessing and over-analyzing in baseball. When we talk about 3, 4, 5, that should be a mainstay. That should be there. But when you say, oh, it's a lefty up, and then let's drop him. Oh, he doesn't hit well. When this guy's pitching, let's drop him. I think managers sometimes overplay the entire lineup for the sake of one guy. And when you move one guy, that means you have to move another guy. So now you actually move 2 guys out of the lineup, out of their wherever they're comfortable or wherever they're used to hitting, and now you kind of thrown off a little bit of the chemistry, a little bit of the makeup of the lineup, in my opinion.
Chuck, same question, Chuck.
Yeah. So for me, I love the threesome there, Conforto, Alonso, and Cespedes. I'd kind of mix it up a little bit. I'd throw Alonso into the cleanup spot. I believe you said he's batting 3rd right now, correct, Monty?
Yeah, they do. They're doing.
Yep.
They put a Cespedes fourth yesterday, but the opening day lineup was Alonso third, which is the righty, Conforto the lefty,
Conforto.
fourth, Cespedes, and Chuck. I got to be honest, Cespedes hasn't played in 2 years, still has the power. Got a base hit yesterday. He's definitely impressed me. I know it's only 2 games, but he had a 2-year layoff.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, with Cespedes, I mean, he's had under 20 home runs every year that he's been with the Mets, except for 2016 where he had 31 home runs. So I think at his age, I think a short season and a later start to the season, if you're looking at the bright spot of what's happening inside of this pandemic, I think for Cespedes, this is going to be a blessing, and I think you're going to see it pay dividends, in his play on the field. I would switch Alonso and Conforto. I like Alonso in the number 4 spot. I'll show my age here a little bit. Alonso reminds me a little bit of a young Dave Kingman with his power. So I'd like to kind of relive my youth and see him slip into not slip, but be in that.
So you're not concerned with the righty lefty thing?
Nah, I'm with Jay on that. I'm with Jay. I'm not really concerned about the righty lefty righty.
Fair enough. All right, Chuck, sticking with you. The Mets rotation was 4th best, 3.84 ERA last year in the National League, but their bullpen was a disaster. We mentioned Edwin Diaz. He has not had a complete back-to-back saves in 2 days in a row. Blew it yesterday. He was 2-7 last year, 7 blown saves. Jerry Familia also had a down year. He lost a lot of weight, looked good yesterday. However, entering 2020, the Mets added a few arms that can make the staff look better. Former Yankee Dylan Betances, Jared Hughes, Hunter Strickland. Are the Mets going to go with Familia and Diaz as their 8-9, sort of like back in the day when the Yankees would do that? Is that what they're going to do, Chuck? Or do you think they're going to kind of mix and match and see what they have? Is Diaz the closer moving forward?
Man, that's a lot of questions there, right? So there's a lot of moving parts going on in that bullpen there. And what I would say is I feel good about Jerry Familia. As you mentioned, I think he's got himself in some better shape, and I think he's going to come in and I think we're going to see production like we saw from him back in 2016. Edwin Diaz, I'm not optimistic. I mean, yesterday being down to the last strike, and then just throwing a vanilla ice cream ball straight down the center of the plate, to be smacked out of the park. It's nice to see that Luis Rojas backed him in the post game interview where they talked about he's looking good in practice. They like the shape that he's in. They believe that it's just one pitch of one ball game in a 60-game season, and I got all that. But I think the numbers speak for themselves. He has an extremely high ERA, and I don't think that that's going to be the person to lead our bullpen. I love Dylan Betances, Seth Lugo. I think there's going to be somebody else that's going to step up in that bullpen, but I don't think Diaz is long for that spot.
By the way, the Mets manager's jacked. He's a short guy, but you see the muscle, see the guns on that dude? That dude works out all the time. Love to see that.
I thought you'd pick up on that, Monte.
All right, Jay, I have a huge question about this team, and as Ahmed Rosario. He's got to have a breakout year. Last season, 15 home runs, 72 RBIs, batted .287. He's 24. Listen, for years we thought this guy was going to be Jose Reyes, right? That's what we thought. Super talented, kind of like when the Mets had d'Arnaud, said he was going to be such a good offensive player. The thing I don't like about him, we saw yesterday he got a triple. This guy has speed. He stole 19 bases last year. He got caught 10 times. Yeah. So, I'm having a lot of questions with this guy. This needs to be his breakout year. And question for you, Jay, along with that, are you going to bat him first sometime during the season?
I don't think so. To address your last question first, I think he is where he is. And I think he's going to be a little better this year because of the DH. Similar to what Chuck was saying with Cespedes, I think the DH only helps the Mets. And I think it helps Rosario because now instead of batting 8th, with the pitcher behind him, he bats 9th, and now you have Nimmo or McNeil or whoever you decide to bat at the 1 hole, batting behind him. I think that helps him. I think Ahmed Rosario, at 24, you hate to write a guy off, and I'm not writing him off, but I think he is who he is. Great speed. I think he hit 7 triples last year, so he can move. I think base stealing is a skill. I don't think you necessarily rely on just speed when you're stealing bases. And at 24, I think he can learn that skill. You would hope that he could learn that skill. But I don't know what a breakout year is for Ahmed Rosario.
Okay, I'm going to say
fair.
20 home runs, 85 RBIs, but even with the designated hitter, that's hard to do when you're batting ninth.
I don't disagree with you. But where else do you bat this guy? I mean, you look at the Mets lineup. We talked about it just a couple of days ago. He's the weakest link, is he not?
You know, that's Chuck. Answer that question. Well, where do you bat him? Where do you move him in the lineup?
I mean, I would say he'd have to be the weakest link in that lineup. I mean, could you put him eighth where Ramos is? I mean, I'd have to go with Jay on this one. I think he's got great speed. I mean, he looked great getting around those bases, and I do believe that base stealing is an art. Could you ever think that he could get to I'll get retro, to the Mookie Wilsons and the Tim Raines of the back in the day of the National League? But as far as his bat, I think he's right where he should be.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, guys, listen, you changed my mind, because I was thinking get him second, get him first, get him sixth, move Cano down. You guys just changed my mind. I mean, Jay's saying he's the weakest link in that lineup. I don't know if that bodes well for the Mets, because they do have a lot of talent, or it bodes bad because we thought this kid was going to be an all-star. Now, Chuck, I was not happy with the Robinson Cano signing, but it is what it is. Where do you bat him in the lineup? What do you expect from him? And Chuck, is he the leader that the Mets need? He seems like he's just, one of these guys who just, some days he plays, some days he doesn't.
Yeah, when it comes to Robinson Cano, I mean, he had some great years in the American League, right? He's there for 14 years. In 2017, he had 97 RBIs. 2016, he had 103. Both years with Seattle. You're talking about a guy that put up 39 RBIs, for the Mets. He has obviously some veteran presence about him. Tenure in the league. He is not. He needs to step up, and at the end of the day, he needs a higher level of play. And there are a few people that I believe are pushing him from behind. In Jimenez and Nunez are right on his tail. So I think this is going to be another situation where you have somebody who is a little bit, let's just say he's on the back nine. I believe he's 37. Is he 37 years old?
His legs got a lot of miles on him.
Right. So he's a little long in the tooth, right? So you're talking about 37 years old. I think a short start to the season, and then kind of going a little bit deeper is going to work for him. And if you take a look at what he's hit lifetime, he's a 308 average in July, 313 average in August, and then it steps up in September and October. It shoots up to 320 plus. So I think that, again, short season, deeper into the year, I think is going to work for him.
One of the things I like about this Mets team, and for those of you tweeting me right now, yes, Daniel Goodwin and A-Marie are going to join us in about a couple minutes. But one of the things that I like about this team is you have Cespedes and Cano, who kind of take days off, the dog days of summer. But now there's a sense of urgency. And Chuck, people are going crazy right now, because every time you say on this show at the end of the day, or sports cliche, the people watching take a shot. So good job with that, Chuck. Usually Rico and Joe Cardozo, the founder of Nuts and Bolts Sports, will say that. But Chuck said at the end of the day, so drink up, people. All right, finally, guys, I think this Mets team has enough talent, and I think they have enough pitching. Listen, I'm going to throw away yesterday's blown save. The Atlanta Braves are a very good team. I think they make the playoffs. In a 60-game season, Jay, let's start with you. Give us the Mets record.
Oh, the Mets record in a 60-game season. That's tough. I mean, I think
they make the playoffs, Jay.
Yeah, I think they do make the
playoffs.
Here's why they make the playoffs: because of the playoff format in Major League Baseball. Right? They've done it so the top three division winners, and then the second place in all divisions, and then there's the 2 wild card. Right? So they'll make the playoffs, I think, because I think they're better than the Marlins, right? And I think they're better than half the teams in the National League.
So I'm saying, Jay, over under 33 wins for the Mets.
I was going to put them at 35.
Okay, so you're taking the over.
Yeah, I'll put them at 35.
So 35 and 25. Okay, Chuck, you're up. How many wins do the Mets get?
Yeah, so for me, I'm taking. I'm going to say that they're 35 wins in 2020. I know right now the odds are saying that they're they're the 10th best odds to win the World Series, but I'll go back and forth. I don't read things that are on in the newspaper or in the media and make my decisions based upon that. I think that they have a young, talented lineup for the most part, same as last year. And I believe that a little rejuvenation with a new manager, and I'm seeing them go guns blazing this year. I think it's going to be a 35 win season, and I think they're going to go deep into the playoffs.
Yeah, listen, if they had Noah Syndergaard healthy, they would probably maybe win 40 games with that rotation. All right, guys, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Jay, you first. Thank you guys so much for joining the show. Love having you on. Jay, I coached you in college. We've kept in touch. Give the people watching one story or one thing you could say about me as a coach.
I know this is a family show, Monty, so it's gonna take me a second to come up with something. But I'll be the nice guy, and I'll say that when we played, 4 years of college basketball. Now we didn't, we weren't at Duke or anything like that. But Monty, you were one of the few coaches I've had in my career that cared, genuinely cared. And you pushed us. You told us a lot of things that we didn't want to hear at the time, but you were definitely there for us. You were definitely there for the right reasons, and one heck of a competitor. Whether it be in the weight room, whether it was shooting threes at the end of a practice. So we were great because we had coaching staff that continued to just drive us.
Jay, we were great because guys like you worked their butts off in the gym. So don't put it on me. You were a pleasure to coach. I'm so glad we kept in touch.
Yeah,
Thank
likewise.
you so much for joining us, Jay. And now, Chuck, we are going to talk to you now. We worked together for, I think, 3 years. I was the office manager. Give us a story about me, Chuck, as an office manager.
Listen, as an office manager, it's funny because Jay talked about you being competitive, and I think you brought that competitiveness into the office. Whether you were going to negotiate a rate on paper clips and Post-it notes, or whether we were in my office with my portable putting green, and when we were putting for fun, you definitely have
Chuck. It wasn't for fun. We putt for $5 a time.
I didn't know what we were allowed to say on the air here, but it was $5 a clip, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And I'll tell you, there was a lot of competitiveness oozing out of your body, Monte. And you were always you were always there if we needed help, dedicated, enthusiastic, much more than an office manager. And I spent 17 years with Transact, Monte, and there were probably 4 or 5 office managers after you. And I will say this, and I mean this, you could put them all together. They didn't do the work or give the support that you did.
Guys, listen, I wanted Chuck to really talk about our degenerate gambling, how we used to, putt every time we came to his office for $5 at a time. But I thank you. I appreciate those stories. And listen, I told you guys this. Anytime I have a show, you guys are always welcome on. You make my show smarter, so we really appreciate it. All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you taking the time out.
You got it.
All right, guys. That was Chuck
thanks.
Mogensen and Jay DeGroat. Listen, Jay DeGroat, you can follow him on social media. I'm going to tweet it out. Both of them do a tremendous job covering New York sports. Like I said, these guys I know, but I also have faith in them to come on my show and bring the heat, and that's exactly what they did. Speaking of bringing the heat, listen, I'm going to post this up before they curse at me when they come on the show. If you see right here, Daniel Goodwin, Monte Perez, Packer fan. Hey, Marie, I am a Packer fan through and through, so let's get you guys on right now.
Wait, I'm out. I didn't know you were a Packer fan. You're a Packer fan. I didn't sign up for this.
Listen, I am a diehard Packer fan, but listen, we like to start the show to make you guys
Jordan Love. Go Jordan Love.
Exactly.
Let's go, Jordan Love.
All right.
Let's go.
Hey, Marie, here's what we're going to do first for you. Listen, people think that the Vikings head coach is a stickler, but as you can see by this, they have fun. This, to me, was one of the funnest celebrations right there. The little Viking doing the limbo.
Oh yeah, we're the best. We got Duck Duck Goose going on too sometimes, It's good. It's good. He is a stickler. That's why we love him. One of the best defensive coaches minds in the game.
All right, Daniel, we're going to do something here for you. Now, listen, when I think of the Bears, okay,
Oh God.
when I think of the Bears, there are a few names that come to mind that you're like, hey, is this guy the best Bear player? Is this guy the I think of Mike Singletary. And to me, Mike
Okay.
Singletary is the above the Bears. I mean, this guy
He's the
for
man.
a decade
He's the
was
man.
a monster in the middle. Talk about Mike Singletary and what he means to this organization all these years later.
I mean, he's the man. He manned that middle. He handled everything that came across the middle. He was able to lay the wood on people. He was a professional, and he was a leader. He was a leader. You knew he was going to bring it every single game. There was no plays taken off and things of that nature. So we have a lot of love for Mike Singletary. A lot of love for Mike Singletary.
What I love about him too, especially in that era, and maybe you could talk about this real quick. Like in that era, it's different than today. You can't hit anybody today without getting a 15-yard penalty. Mike Singletary was mean and nasty, but he wasn't chippy. He was a professional through and through.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things that you like about him, because he's going to bring the wood. He's going to smack you, but it's not going to be dirty plays. It's not going to be it's not going to be anything bad in that way. So he was the guy who was bringing it professionally, but then he was also very professional off the field as well. So we enjoy him. We love him.
Class act. Okay, we're going to start with the background here. The Vikings background. This is for you. We're going to get the Bears background in there. I'm not going to leave you out. But ladies first. Okay, talk about other than the Vikings, obviously, talk about the two teams that you think have improved the most in the NFL this season.
I tweeted this out right before your show, but I definitely believe the Arizona Cardinals. I think they've made, obviously, getting the best wide receiver in the offseason, in his prime, and adding to that already developing offense. The Arizona Cardinals have impressed me, and I think they're going to be a really good team. And I was really impressed with the Dallas Cowboys during their draft, even though I hate saying that. I was raised to hate the Dallas Cowboys. So I thought they had one of the best drafts out of all the teams. So I think they'll take back over the NFC East.
Okay, let's switch it up. We got the little Bears background for you to be a little more comfortable. Daniel, we're going to go back and forth with that. Daniel, talk about the two teams that you think improved the most.
Well, improvements. I thought you were going to ask me about decreasing, but I prepared that argument. I prepared that argument.
Go ahead, go for that.
So for teams that are going to step back, in my opinion, I'm going to start with the NFC North, and I'm going to say Green Bay. And the reason I say Green Bay is not because, Monte, you like Green Bay. That's not the reason why. But the reason why is because of Rodgers' relationship. His relationship with the coaches and the front office is fractured. There's no doubting that. There's no debating that. It's fractured completely. So when you have a situation where you have a aging star quarterback who's now in a situation where he feels like he's been done wrong because they drafted Jordan Love, and he's not happy about that situation. They're already transitioning more into a running style of offense. He wasn't happy with that last year. And by the way, they were a good team last year, but they were a flawed team. They were a flawed team who had a lot of things go well for them. So now listen, if you take some of that stuff back, I think they take a step back this year.
I'm a Packer fan, and I don't think they go 13-3. I think everything went right for them last year. I still think they're good enough to make the playoffs, but I say 11-5 or 10-6. But I think this division is going to be super competitive. We're not going to talk about the Lions here much, but I think the Lions are improved. So I want you to talk about the Vikings right now. Head coach Mike, 6 seasons. One losing season. First season was 7-9. Playoff appearances. What do you like about them? What don't you like about them?
Okay, I got to say this, though. I don't know if anyone remembers this back in 2013, but our defense was ranked up there 31st or 32nd. I can't remember exactly. And then Zimmer comes in, takes the same group of players, and we move up about 18 spots in the rankings. He just totally turned around our defense and our offense. We had Adrian Peterson. I mean, everyone yells that we had Christian Ponder, which I can't stand him, but whatever. Had way too much expectations with him, but it didn't matter. Even when we had Teddy Bridgewater, you had Adrian Peterson. So, I mean, even though I think we always have curse and bad luck, I think just making us a defensively sound team again. And on top of, we've had huge, obviously, offensive players like Adrian Peterson. I think Zimmer has done an exceptional job of turning around our team for many years. So I love him. I like a defensive set mind. And we've had 3 really good playoff runs, of course, ending in heartbreak. But I mean, that comes with being a Vikings fan, So,
but no, he's brought stability. He's brought accountability.
The coaches, the
and the players like him, right?
Players love him, and he brought in so many great, and he keeps on bringing in so many great coaches. I'm so excited about Kubiak and what he's doing with our system too. So, I want Zimmer for more than 3 years. I want it until we keep going.
Okay, Daniel, let's talk about Matt Nagy. 12-4 in his first year, 8-8 his last year. Listen, I like him. But do you think losing Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator who went to Denver, do you think that is something that they cannot recover from? Talk about Matt Nagy and what direction this defense that was once elite took a step back last year.
Well, I do believe that the loss of Vic Fangio heading to Denver, it wasn't good for us. We didn't prepare well for that. So we got a new defensive coordinator in there. He did okay last year. There's some things that he needs to tighten up though. When it comes to Matt Nagy, there are some good things that I love about him, and there are some bad things that are, I'll just be honest with you, I don't like very much. You talk about being a player's coach. He is one, and we talked about that with Marie there, talking about Mike Zimmer and that capacity and or that role, you might say. But Matt Nagy is a player's coach. They love playing for him. They have fun in the locker room. You never see anybody complaining or disgruntled, even when we were down, even when we're struggling. You still see guys sticking together. So that's a embodiment of what he is as a coach. He's bringing guys together. He's rallying them together. So I like that about him. What I do not like about Matt Nagy is the fact that he doesn't always put his players in a position to win. And I'll give you an example of that. The first game last year against Green Bay, we got a young quarterback who's going into that game Sunday night, right? Sunday night, going into that game, and you throw him out there and you throw the ball, you're dropping back to throw the ball 55 times, 57 times, whatever it was. And you run the ball with your running back 5 times or 6 times, and then your backup running back 5 carries. So it's just too lopsided. That's not putting a guy who's a young quarterback in a position to win. He's not that type of guy. So why would you ask him to do that? Throw the ball 55 times. It makes no sense. So I believe that he has to put his guys in a better position to win, and you have to be patient with the running game. He has no patience for the running game. 1 or 2 carries where you don't move the ball or go anywhere, and he abandons it completely. So I think you got to stick with the running game. He needs to focus on that, and then try to make things work that way.
Marie, we posted this. I love Dalvin Cook.
Me too.
I think he's a top 5 running back.
Pay him.
But
pay him.
They have to pay him. Correct.
Him,
but how do you replace Stephon Diggs?
Oh, this is bittersweet. You can. I love Stephon Diggs. I will forever love that man. But you can. He wasn't happy. You got to make your players happy. Like, I'm not. It was such a weird loss for us, even though we got so many draft picks out of it. So as much as I was sad, I was happy at the same time. Diggs isn't happy. It wasn't fitting in with our offense. I hope that Josh Allen can get the ball actually to him at some point. But I wish Diggs the best. I'm not mad at all. But you replace him. I don't think Justin Jefferson is going to come out of the gates going to be, I hope he has maybe like a Randy Moss 1998 year, but I don't think that's what it's going to be. But I think it's going to fill the roles. And I'm actually more excited about our pickup with Sharp from the Titans, because that's only going to help open up. We're a run-heavy offense. We're going to pay Dalvin, and we have 3 amazing receivers that are going to help impact and help Dalvin as well. So it's a sad loss, though. But
no, it's a big loss. But here's what I'll say: you look at the successful teams last year, right?
Yeah.
The NFL, we all think it's a vertical passing league because Patrick Mahomes is the best player 99% of the time on the field. But the Ravens. Right, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, that running game. You look at the Tennessee Titans went to the AFC Championship. People don't realize this. The San Francisco 49ers were the number 1 team. They rushed the ball 52% of the time. So
Yep.
you need a running game.
You need a running game.
Look what Minnesota did against the Saints. They ran the ball. They kept that prolific offense off the field, and that's what you got to do.
And we have a deep running game. Like, I mean, Dalvin, everyone's worried about him being injury prone, but Madison, Boone, and we're keeping that fullback position alive with CJ Ham. We have a very deep running game. And Gary Kubiak is known to turn unknown players into stars. So
100%.
I don't want to lose Dalvin, but that guy can make anyone a star. And we got a deep running game.
100%. Now, listen, Daniel, Allen Robinson came through last year. Like, people don't realize outside of Chicago, he had 97 catches. But you talked about the running game and the reason why Matt Nagy abandons it. Their running game was atrocious. David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen averaged 3.7 and 3.3 yards per carry. You're not winning that way. How do you get more production out of your backs?
Well, you got to be patient with it. That's the number one thing. You got to be patient. You got to learn how to focus on what's the total going to end up being. Not this run or that run, this one situation, and then abandon the running game. The second thing is we need some tough guys up front. The trenches. You got to win the game in the trenches on the defensive side and the offensive side of the ball. So on the offensive side, we need some help up there. There are some guys that are available in free agency still right now to this day. Warford, I've been begging for Chicago to take a look at him. I think we can get him for a nice price, and I think he would shore up the running game especially.
Yeah.
Listen, Amory, talk about the defense here. We're in a division with Aaron Rodgers.
Beautiful.
Matthew Stafford may not win against winning teams, but the guy can sling it. And Chicago should be improved. So how does this defense stack up with the rest of not just the NFC North, but the rest of the NFL?
Yeah, so this is my only biggest concern. I mean, I'm not worried about our front line and our safeties. I mean, Harrison Smith and Anthony Harris, I can fight about this all day. Two best safeties. I'm God. Basement flooded. I know this is a family show, but
it's not a family show.
Okay, I heard one of the Mets guys saying that. It was so cute. But
let me tell you why it's not a family show right here. I posted this in the first minute. A baby drinking. How is this a family show when I have a baby drinking on the screen?
Yeah. The only thing is our secondary and our cornerbacks positions, we have all rookies now. I mean, we got rid of Xavier Rhodes, but thank God, because under construction, roads were wide open. He needed to go. Good look at the Colts, Mr. Xavier Rhodes. Trey Waynes, all these guys had to go. But so I'm a little nervous about all of our Mike Hughes is coming back from injury, and we have a very young cornerback class. But I think in general, our defense are in their prime. I mean, and we filled in the slots with losing Linval Joseph and Everson Griffin. So those are some big losses, but Zimmer's so good. We're so good defensively. We got a great line, except we'll see what these young cornerbacks can do. That's the only thing I'm nervous about.
By the way, I'm giving you a round of applause right now, but because you just said Xavier, all the roads are open when he's on the field. So that was very clear. I don't know if you heard that or you made that up yourself.
No,
is that a Viking thing?
I mean, I've been saying it on the podcast, my Viking podcast. I'm like, under construction, wide's way open with Mr.
I love it.
So
I love it.
The freeway for anyone.
I love it. Love it. All right, Daniel, listen, Khalil Mack had 47 tackles last year. He needs to step up. They signed him. His first year, he was all world. I know he had some injuries. Can this Bears team be a top 5 unit? And if they're not a top 5 unit, can they win 9 games? I'm one of the few people who think that the Bears can contend for a playoff spot. Am I crazy?
Absolutely not. And top 5, I think you're crazy for asking me that question, because without a doubt, we can be a top 5. We could be a top 5 defense easily. You got Robert Quinn that we brought in. That's a step up as far as pass rush as compared to Leonard Floyd, who we had last year. So him working opposite Khalil Mack will help. And then that'll also free up a little bit of Khalil Mack, because you do have to pay attention to Robert Quinn. We still have Akeem Hicks. He's coming back from his injury. He will be healthy. You got Eddie Jackson, Kyle Fuller. So you got all pros all over the field on defense on every level. Every level. And then, of course, we have Danny Trevathan, who will be back from injury as well. Hopefully he can stay healthy. And Roquan Smith, if we can get his mind right and make sure he stays healthy as well. So defensively, we should be top notch. Defensively, we should be dominating, you might say. So
So
that's my
Daniel,
gist on it.
I saw my Jets trade away Jamal Adams. Here's the
Hmm.
question. Now,
Ooh.
if you're the Bears, and then Amory, I'll ask you the same question. Do you go after Jadeveon Clowney and pay him the $20 million he wants? How stacked
Uh,
would both of those units be with him? Daniel, would you take him? Yes or no?
No, I wouldn't
You
take him
wouldn't
right
take
now.
him. Wow.
Mm-mm. I think that. I mean, it would stack you up, but I just don't see. I've never been a Jadeveon Clowney guy. I think he has the
yeah.
talent, but he doesn't bring it like he should every game.
Yeah, I
Would you
agree.
sign him?
I'm no, same. I have faith in my rookies, and we're deep in our defense. I don't need them.
All right, Amory, we're staying with you. Give us your prediction for each team record-wise in the NFC North. Wait, now before you answer that question, I'm just going to hold this up right here.
Okay.
Okay.
I definitely think none of us are going to be 13-3.
I agree with that.
I do think all of us are going to be above 500. I think the NFC North is going to be a tough division. You've said that all show, and I really agree with that. Don't think the Bears are. It's going to be Packers Vikes for the NFC North. No offense, Bears, just till you get that Trubisky and your million tight ends that you drafted. I still don't understand that. I
got rid of
think.
two.
Yeah, you did get rid of two. That's correct. But I think you and I are going like 10-6. 10-6 Packers, Monte. I think you and maybe the Bears good like 8-8. Like I think everyone's gonna be above 500, and I think the Vikes are winning because we're gonna have empty stadiums, and Kirk Cousins is gonna love that.
Well, that's what I was. My final question for you is: are you a believer in Kirk Cousins? Listen,
Yes, I'm a believer in Kirk Cousins.
He went to New Orleans and beat Drew Brees.
What more do we have to prove? He's coming off his best season. He has a team. We're a young, improving offensive line. For the love of God, just oh my God, the holding penalties. But besides that, we have an improving line, and Kirk Cousins is a good, consistent passer. He's a good quarterback. He makes big plays now. We can see it. He's won 2 primetime games. And I don't know what else we need to prove. He's actual good quarterback. Everyone's like, Keenum, Bridgewater, not Ponder. We've had the best running backs in the league the last 10 years too. So we have won because of our running game. Kirk Cousins is a good franchise quarterback.
Yes, he is.
He's going to be building under freaking Gary Kubiak. Let's check his resume. Hello, and we have the defense. So I don't understand why everyone sucks. He doesn't suck.
No, I agree with you.
He doesn't suck.
He went to New Orleans and he beat Drew Brees and the Saints. Daniel, give us your prediction for the entire division.
Number 1, Amory. It was between Minnesota and Green Bay last year. It won't happen 2 years in a row. Let's just get that out the way.
Okay.
Chicago 10-6. I got Minnesota up there at about 10-6. I got Green Bay falling back to 8-8, maybe 9-7, and Detroit, believe it or not, 6-10.
Okay, I can go with that. I can go with a 6-10. They drafted pretty well.
You're saying the Packers are going to go 8-8?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think, like I said, that situation with Aaron Rodgers is going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. Trust me.
Let me just repeat that on record. You just said the Packers are going 8-8.
8-8.
Wow.
8-8.
Wow. Listen, guys,
8-8.
Love having you on. We'll have you on again once they start practicing full to talk about the Bears, to talk about the Vikings. Daniel, how can we follow you and support you on social media? Go first.
Follow me at D Goodwin on team. Excuse me, on Twitter at D Goodwin. And that's what I'm staying on. So please follow me. Check it out.
How can we follow you?
My Twitter, all my social media handle at Part-Time Bro. I got 2 podcasts and a sports broadcast. Once we have full live sports on the Hot Mic app, check it out. But thank you. This was so fun.
Listen, guys, I don't say this to brag. I get about 6 to 8 million hits on my page per month. I love you guys, what you're doing. I love your passion. So if you have something you want to promote, put it on my page. Let me help you out. And Daniel, let me see that hat you got going on there.
That's the Cubs, man. That's the Cubs.
The Cubs.
See.
Baseball's back. Baseball's back.
Yes, sir.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll have you on down the road. Really appreciate you taking the time out. Great job.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Great job. All right. That was a great job by them. Listen, I said it all along. NFC North, the best division in football next year, most competitive division. People are forgetting about the Detroit Lions. Don't sleep on them. When we come back, we're going to have Joe Cardozo, the founder of Nuts and Bolts Sports, and of course, Jeff Barnes, the host of No Huddle, every Wednesday at 9 p.m. You're listening to the full Monte Sports Show. We work hard on Sundays, so you don't have to. All right, look who we have now. We have Jeff Barnes. We have Joe Cardozo. How are you guys doing today?
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, I start each show with something that's going to put you in a good mood. So, Joe, we're going to start with you. Just walk me through this. To me, this is the most iconic moment over the last 25 years in the history of college football. What does that mean to you, Joe?
Oh, man, that brings back great memories. Back when Michigan football was actually relevant.
Tell people what that is if they don't know, Joe.
Sorry?
Tell people who that is if they don't know.
Oh, come on, man. Desmond Howard, Heisman Trophy winner, Super Bowl MVP, Mr. Special Teams, and he's from Ohio.
That's a great, great moment. And now, Jeff, I'm going to bring this up with you. Listen, you're a diehard Notre Dame fan. Now, I just want to know, is this movie as annoying to you as it is to non-Notre Dame fans?
It's not annoying to me because honestly,
I'm
going to tell you why. And it's not because of Rudy. It's because Jon Favreau makes that movie. So, and yeah, you got Rock Dutton in there, but I'm sorry, Jon Favreau as D-Bob made that movie to me. His character, stole every scene he was in.
Listen, all I'm going to say, and people may not agree with me, the two worst movies, sports movies of all time, are Rudy and Waterboy with Adam Sandler. Am I crazy, Joe?
I agree with that. I don't like either of them.
I like Rudy. I like the Waterboy. I thought it was funny, and I just took it as comedy. I didn't count it as a sports movie. But if you want to throw worst sports movies in there, that remake of The Longest Yard was horrible.
Oh, terrible. All right, so I'm going to put this background up for you, Jeff, right here. You got the Notre Dame, the helmets, and my first question is to you. I'm an Oregon Duck fan, and I know the Ducks over the past 10, 15 years have been a good program. But I'm realistic. We are not an elite program. I was talking to a friend of mine who loves Notre Dame football, and I told him they're not elite. He got all offended. Notre Dame is a good football program, but they haven't won a national championship since 1988. As a Notre Dame guy, they are not an elite program. Am I wrong? And that's not a knock. They are top 10, 15.
No, Notre Dame at this point is not elite, and they are still top tier, but they are not elite. Granted, when you talk about Notre Dame football, I think the one biggest knock people have on them is that they're still independent at this point. But that works to their advantage because if you look at their schedule compared to SEC schedules, to ACC schedules, although they play an ACC schedule
Jeff,
for the most part.
For those who don't know, explain, because there are people watching who don't really pay attention to college football. Explain what an independent means.
Independent means you're not aligned to any conference. You're not a member of any conference. Unlike Alabama,
ACC, right?
Correct. Yeah. So Alabama is an SEC school. Florida State is an ACC school. Notre Dame plays a lot of ACC schools at Atlantic Coast Conference, but they are independent. They set their own schedule. They're not bound to play one specific set of conference schedules. And if you look at their strength of schedule every year, it's amongst the top 10 every year. So being an independent makes them have to work harder for national recognition.
All right, Joe. Now I'm going to ask you the same question, but before we do that, let's put this up there. We'll be switching back and forth. You can see the Michigan background there. Joe, look, I'm going to say this right now. Wisconsin is a better football program than Michigan. Am I off base there?
Oh, I don't think so at all. We've been mediocre for so long. I mean, at what point is Jim Harbaugh going to have a winning product on the field? I mean, we've done some cool stuff off the field. I mean, we shot music videos with the Migos. We had a practice inside the ruins of the Roman Coliseum. That's all fun and good, but when's the wins going to happen on the field?
So you would say that right now Michigan is not a top 15 program? Are they on the outside looking in?
15, yeah, but like top 5, no. We're not are we a college football playoff ready team? Absolutely not. But we're top 15. Yeah, it's Michigan. Come on now.
All right, Jeff, I don't understand the criticism of Brian Kelly, the head coach of Notre Dame. He was 35-19 at Central Michigan, 34-6 at Cincinnati, and 92-37 at Notre Dame. One losing record in 10 years. What's the criticism? What do Notre Dame fans expect this guy to do?
They expect New Rockne.
Come on,
listen, being that Joe's a Michigan guy, he understands this. Winning is just not good enough at Notre Dame for a lot of people. You can win, you can make a playoff, but if you're not winning national championships, they're not happy. And in this climate where you look at Notre Dame football, where you're good, and Kelly's one of those guys, when he first came to Notre Dame, I was excited. In his first few years, he had his stumbles, but eventually he got on track. And part of what I've admired about Brian Kelly is that he was able to change, because he had some weaknesses that kind of hurt him as far as that program.
He has evolved. Yeah.
Because when he first came in, he was a very, very abrasive coach with his players, and especially with his quarterbacks. That's one reason why Deshaun Kaiser left early, because he didn't have that great relationship with Kelly. And it kind of showed on his way out the door when he was getting drafted in the draft process, and Kelly didn't back him at first. And it finally turned around when he got to the draft and said, I'm going to come to the draft with you and support you. But he basically told scouts that he wasn't ready. At that point, that's a damning statement for a quarterback that's in the draft process. So when you talk about him, he's made a big change. He's become a lot more player friendly. He's starting to understand how to adapt and agree with his players and get these guys to perform at the level he wants. He still has his struggles recruiting top tier quarterbacks, but overall, I mean, that's one of the biggest problems he has, is because his quarterback position has been good, but otherwise, every once in a while he'll get a great one. But he's just not getting the quarterbacks that are going to get them to the next level.
Now, Joe, we saw Jeff and I were at the college football bowl game with Alabama and Michigan. Okay, and Michigan, I was shocked. The only major difference was the wide receiver play. The wide receivers were so much faster on Alabama than Michigan. But I will say this: Michigan, talent-wise, they were going against probably a top 3 team in the country, and they weren't that outmatched. So, Joe, I want you to talk about Harbaugh, okay? He's done a better job recruiting, 10-3, 10-3, 8-5, 10-3, 9-4. But at Michigan, Joe, 1-4 in bowl games, including 4 straight bowl losses. Here's the problem I have with Harbaugh. He is a quarterback, and he still acts like he's coaching and playing for Mike Ditka in the 1980s and 90s, where he's just handing the ball off. In college football, you need a dynamic quarterback to make plays. He doesn't trust any quarterback. How can you be a former quarterback and not trust your players? Talk about what you like and what you don't like, Joe.
Well, I do like what he's doing recruiting-wise. I mean, of course, football is not one on paper. It's one on the field. But his recruiting classes have been very good, but I don't think he's using the talent the right way. I think you're exactly right. I mean, anybody who follows Michigan, who's a Michigan football fan, will tell you we spend a lot of Saturdays screaming at the TV screen for him to open up the offense, to use the talent that he has. I mean, this is a guy that's 2-12 right now against the AP top 10. And although it was a really good showing against Alabama in the bowl game, I almost disagree with you a little bit, Monte, on as far as the talent gap not being that wide, because when you watch Michigan play against Ohio State, we get demolished.
Yeah.
We're losing by a touchdown or 2 touchdowns. We're getting smacked by halftime. It's like Ohio State are grown men, and we're just kids that parents left them at recess and didn't come pick them up. I mean, it's not even a contest. The Buckeyes have been beating our asses for like 5 years now, dude. It's not even a contest, man. So I see a big talent gap.
That's a great point. But listen, guys, something came up this week. We just found out that Clemson had 53 players over the past month test positive for the coronavirus. They are all healthy right now. Only a few suffered flu-like bad symptoms. This is not being talked about on college football, but what you're seeing the elite programs like Clemson, like Alabama, who started practice early and said, hey, we're just going to go for it. And now their players are healthy now for the rest of the season. Do you think schools like the Pac-12, who are very cautious, I know Tom Herman at Texas and Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma has been very cautious. Do you think that's going to hurt them? We'll start with you, Jeff, come during the season because they're cautioning on the side of science, whereas, Dabo Sweeney, who, for a ton of other reasons, I love his program, but as a person, he's not my type of guy. Dabo Sweeney is like, screw it. We're going to practice. Whatever happens, happens. Jeff, give us your thoughts on this.
Well, I don't know if the starting early or starting late is really going to be a big factor because what you're seeing now are people are catching it a second and possibly even a third time. So even if you started early, I don't think you got it out. I don't think that these kids are going to be immune from it by the time they get through the middle of the season. There's still a chance they're going to catch it and have to get quarantined all over again. This is all one big risk. We're playing right now with the situation of we don't know how to stop it. It's not a game where you are going to be able to social distance. You're going to be tackling, you're going to be in each other's faces, blocking, breathing on each other in close quarters. It's an inherent risk of the game. And honestly, it comes down to it. The Power 5, Power 6, if you want to count the American conferences, they have TV money wrapped up in this. They have to play football in order to get that money. It's different for the schools that aren't on TV all the time. They don't get those TV package deals. The only time they get money from TV is when they go up to a bigger school and get beat on national television. So those guys can easily say, let's move it to the spring and move on. These guys need their money. And that's what it's all about. Just like the NFL's playing because they need their money, the Power 5, Power 6 conferences need their money. And that's why we're still seeing these kids on campus now.
Joe, we just saw Lou Williams, the Clippers' sixth man, pretty much sixth man of the year. I compare him to Jamal Crawford, just instant offense off the bench. Lou Williams left the bubble to go visit his dad. And before he came back, he went to a gentleman's club. For those of you who don't know, that's a strip club. And now he's in quarantine for 10 days. Joe, how are you going to keep these kids safe when they're going to go party? They're going to be out all the time. And my concern is, statistics show that most healthy males can beat this. Most healthy females can beat this. My problem is, what about the guys working the sidelines? What about the 50, 60-year-old overweight coach or just people who are older? I'm very concerned about everyone involved, not the college kids.
Well, start from the beginning. How can a lot of these college campuses are having their students do long distance virtual learning. So how can I ask them, 4,000 or 5,000 kids to do virtual learning, but Monte, my starting running back, we expect you on campus working out, training, and playing the games. Let's just stop the facade of saying it's amateur sports and just admit it's a business. But that's wrong in itself. And my thing from the beginning has always been, if you can do the sport, whatever it is, baseball, NBA, whatever, if it can be done safely, then let's do it. Because, we all miss sports. We all love sports. And I'm with you, Monte. The concern should be the people on the sidelines, the equipment managers, even the water boy, the water girl. How are you keeping those people safe? And there's, like Jeff mentioned, there's no way you can socially distance football. What are we going to do? Play flag football? Or if I get close to you, we just consider you to be down and the play stops right then and there. So I find it very hard. I'm skeptical that we can pull off a season professionally and college football.
Yeah, listen, I think no fans are going to be allowed. One of the things when I went to a few college football games in my life, I've never seen anything like Alabama, Michigan, here in Florida, the tailgating. I got there an hour early, and it was just people drinking, laughing, dancing, having a good time. But let's talk back on the field right now. Jeff, what are your expectations for Notre Dame? If I were to tell you right now, Notre Dame 10 wins over and under, what would you give me? And are they going to the ACC, by the way?
Right now, it looks like they're going to be de facto members of the ACC in order to get their schedule in. And they even talk about letting them compete for the championship, believe it or not. But I would say 10 wins is the minimum for them. I think they have.
Are you going over under with that?
I'll lean slightly to the over.
Okay.
I'll lean
But if you
slightly
had to
to
put
the
money, you'd bet a push 10-3.
I'd say about 10-3.
Okay.
And the reason being, I'm not. To me, like I said, if you want to be that elite program, unless you're just fully loaded like an Alabama usually is, where you don't need an elite quarterback, Notre Dame needs one, and they don't have one in Ian Book. He's a good college quarterback, but he's not elite. And I think that's one of the reasons why you haven't had an elite program in Notre Dame, because you still haven't had an elite quarterback.
Joe, real quick, people are commenting, what the hell is going on in your background? What do you have? What are you recording on your computer there?
I'm not recording anything. That's the greatest soccer team in the world. Chelsea's playing. Got the Chelsea game going on in the background.
People are like, what is
It's
going on
Sunday,
in this
man.
background?
There's live sports from now until like 2 a.m, brother. It's Christmas.
All right, Joe, real quick, same question for Harbaugh. If he doesn't beat Ohio State, is this his last year?
I would have said yes, but now the reason I'll say no is because if you remember, before the quarantine hit, he was talking about getting an extension. So
Yes.
obviously the powers that be at Michigan are seeing something that me and half the fan base aren't seeing. So I would say his chances of staying with Michigan are pretty high.
You know,
He's
it's
taking the
funny.
pay cut already.
It's funny because we're talking about, and I'm going to talk about this with Rico in the next 15 minutes. The NFL is going to lose anywhere from 100 to 200 million dollars in home games. So a lot of these college coaches who are on the bubble, they just don't have the money to buy them out. So someone like Harbaugh, someone like Tom Herman, who believe it or not, is doing everything right with the coronavirus, with Black Lives Matter, but he needs to win in Texas because Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma has dominated him over the last 3 years. So we're seeing something right now with financially, they just can't afford to fire coaches and pay them 2-3 years. Not everyone has James Dolan money of the Knicks. James Dolan is still paying Phil Jackson. Okay, so that's it. So Joe, if I told you, listen, give me the over under 10 wins for Michigan and a bowl win, what are you taking?
Ooh, I'm gonna say 8. I'll say 8 wins and a bowl
Wow,
game.
so
Yeah,
it's a down year.
football playoff. No, but a bowl game. Which one? Not which one? Obviously, I can't tell you that right now. But I'll say 8 wins for the. I'll say
So
8
Joe,
wins.
you have 8 wins for Michigan is terrible.
I mean, who's our quarterback? Offensive line problems. The linebacking core is depleted. It's a lot of questions, and obviously an off season unlike any other. So we have I know a lot of college programs are probably in the same boat, but they're not a Michigan.
You know, it's amazing because, like I said, we've seen coaches evolve. I say this about Bill Belichick all the time. Bill Belichick came into the league as a defensive guru. Over the last 5 years, he's gone for it more on fourth down than any other coach. In the last 3 years, Andy Reid has done it more, but over the last 5 years, Bill Belichick has evolved where he thought that, when he first came into the league, he had the Bill Parcells mindset. Just hand the ball off, don't lose the game. But Joe, how does a former quarterback constantly be conservative? I don't understand it. Harbaugh is so conservative.
I don't have it. I mean, the new offensive coordinator we brought in last season was supposed to be able to open up the offense, and you saw bits and pieces. But what I think it is I think once they have an unsuccessful play, Harbaugh gets scared and goes back to his 3 yards in a cloud of dust, Marty Schottenheimer, 1991 offense. I think once the interception's thrown or a screen pass doesn't go for 60 yards, well, there you go. The spread offense doesn't work. Let's go back to my way. And then we lose.
You see Nick Saban, who was a defensive coach. Once Tua got in there, he's thrown for it. Like, it's just the lack of evolution of certain. I mean, Harbaugh still thinks it's 1985. He believes in ground and pound. Listen, his brother did it in Baltimore, and maybe that's a bad thing because they run all the time.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, they throw the ball when needed. If the run game's not working, it's just like I said. I think he just gets scared once it doesn't work the way it was supposed to work in the playbook. He just reverts back to what he knows, which is the sweep or the draw or the bubble screen to the running back. There's a lot of athletes in that team.
It's literally like watching a Rex Ryan offense run on first down, run on second down, and then because you have to, you're going to throw on third down. And I mentioned Rex Ryan, so that means everyone involved right now, you get to drink. Anytime I say Rex Ryan or we use a corny phrase like end of the day.
I'm not saying that.
You get to drink. All right, guys, real quick right here. Jeff, you are a college football guy. I look to you. Tell me how Trevor Lawrence was not made in a factory to be the most successful quarterback in college football. That's the first question. And the second question is, I'm going to say this to you, Joe. I'm going to say it to Jeff. The best quarterback in college football history for 3 years in the history of college football for his career was Marcus Mariota. Jeff, you go first.
Trevor Lawrence, he's just a natural talent for one. When you look at it, yeah, you see the size, you see the arm strength, but his poise in the pocket, his ability to manage the game at any point of the game is something that you don't teach that. And the fact that he ended up in Clemson, where he just came in at the right time. Kelly Bryant couldn't manage that team. So he was on thin ice, and all it took was for one good game by Trevor Lawrence to take over, and he did it. He's there. And right now, if you look at a lot of people's prospects for next year's draft, he's the number one guy. So when you look at it, his comeback last year against Ohio State, what can you say? But overall, when you talk about Trevor Lawrence, just a natural talent, ended up in a great situation where he's playing in a premier program right now, and his skills are undeniable. Now, as far as Marcus Mariota, a talented quarterback. I like Mariota. I just, one thing is some guys, the system helps make them look a little more polished. And being in Oregon, you know how good the Oregon offense is. If you can play and you can throw the football around and scramble some, you're going to be a good quarterback. And we've seen that with Dennis Dixon. Right, and Mariota was no exception.
Good point. But you got to remember something here. You got to remember.
I can't. Lost sound.
He'll unmute himself.
Okay, sorry about that. Chip
No problem.
Only with Mariota for a year.
Yeah, no. But the offense stayed in place. There's still the same offense that Chip Kelly used to run. Remember, it's his offensive coordinator that took over when Chip Kelly left. So he was still in the same system. When you look at the passing game, and I've known guys that have gone from other schools to Oregon who've struggled with that playbook. One of the, if you remember, Kano Dillon came from USF, came over there to play tight end for Oregon. During the draft process, when I had to interview him, I said, "What was the issue? You came from USF where you didn't have an explosive offense to Oregon where you have an offensive scheme that's designed to get people open." And he couldn't produce. And he says water was he couldn't handle the playbook. So Oregon is don't get me wrong. It's not a unfortunately Michigan offense where it's a lot simpler designed, but overall, if you have the ability to throw the football in Oregon's offense and grasp the concepts, you can put up numbers. And we've seen guys that were great at throwing the ball. But we have seen guys that were average at throwing the ball to look great at Oregon. So.
Joe, he just took a shot at Michigan. I don't know if you know that. I mean, he's talking trash. But Joe, I'm going to read this stat to you. Ready? Marcus Mariota, 67% completion percentage, 105 passing touchdowns, 14 interceptions. How is he not the most productive quarterback for his career? People want to talk about Cam Newton. Okay, people want to talk about Johnny Manziel. It's a joke. Johnny Manziel went 10-6. Okay, when Marcus Mariota was at Oregon, they finished in the top 5 every year but one, and they played for a national championship. So 105 touchdown passes, 14 interceptions. Make an argument. Who's a better college quarterback than Marcus Mariota?
Oh, see, for me, I got to do some research on that, but I don't agree with you. I'll be real with you, brother. I don't agree.
Wow.
On my head, I'm going to say James Winston. You can talk about crab legs all you want. I'm talking about on the field. I'm going to say Jameis, but I got to do some research. I'll get back to you on that. But I don't agree with Marcus Mariota.
All right. All right, so Joe, let's talk about. I'm so annoyed because I see your hat and I
Always.
see this Yankee hat. And Joe, I posted this for you in the beginning to give you happiness, to be like, wow, I remember Michigan. But I'm going to post this for you right now. There's only one home run king in New York, and that is Pete Alonso, my friend. That is Pete Alonso, who broke your boy's record last year with most home runs. I see the Yankee hat. It just annoys me. Talk about the Yankees. I think the Dodgers and the Yankees are the best team in Major League Baseball this year. What do you expect from them?
It's a World Series or bust for us this year. The knock has been, I mean, it's two things with the Yankees: tons of injuries and a suspect pitching staff. We finally went back to the old Yankee way of backing up the Brinks truck to whoever the hot free agent is, and we got Garrett Cole. But the difference is, unlike the Washington football team, who overpays for over the hill free agents, this guy's in the prime of his career. We still have yet to see the best of Garrett Cole, and we got him locked in for quite a while to match up with Tanaka, a great bullpen. You got J.A. Happ. So, I mean, for us, it's World Series or bust for the Yankees, but people got to stay healthy. You need Aaron Judge healthy. You need Tanaka healthy. Aroldis Chapman without COVID-19. If we can have a healthy team on the field, I don't see why it can't be us versus the Dodgers.
Now, Joe, you make great points, but I'm so distracted because you're wearing a beautiful nuts and bolts polo, and you were supposed to send me one 3 years ago, and I'm still waiting on that, Joe.
We've been
I'm still
talking to
waiting on that.
Ashmere has been riding me that all these shows we have. I mean, not the only one that has the shirt is me. I'm working on it.
Can you show the people, the fans, because I know people are going to want to order that. Can you show the fans that shirt?
Of
That is
course.
a styling shirt. Very nice. Joe's been saying he's going to send me a shirt for 3 years. Just want everyone to know. On record.
I owe everybody a shirt, man. I owe everybody. I got you.
All right, real quick. Joe, we'll start with you, then we'll go with Jeff, and then we'll talk about nuts and bolts sports real quick before we get Rico Show Me the Money Graziano on. Joe, give us your NBA Finals prediction.
Ooh, I'm gonna go because I'm a big LeBron James guy. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm gonna go Lakers. Ooh, the East is where I'm kind of back and forth, man. I'm going to say it. People will bash me. I don't care. I'm saying Lakers versus 76ers. Philadelphia gets it together and gets out of there. They get it together. Too much talent, man.
That is a bold statement. I had actually the Clippers and the Lakers, the Clippers and the Sixers going to the finals. I just heard in preseason in my article on Nuts and Bolts Sports, I just heard Tobias Harris said that they had tremendous chemistry issues, animosity. They all worked it out. We know they're talented. Jeff, who do you like going to the NBA Finals?
For me, it's going to be a battle of former Jabbar teams. To me, I'm going to say the Lakers out of the West, but I'm going to say the Bucks out of the East. I think this long layoff may actually help the Bucks out because honestly, going in the way they were before, I figured they may have run into a stumbling block. You know, if everybody continued to play their season, teams would have gotten better towards the end and got some momentum going into the playoffs. I think this may have given them a chance to get themselves together, come out, and Giannis is just Giannis. I mean, I think that's going to be one of the things that helps carries them in the playoffs.
You know, here's the problem I have, and I said this on my the full Monte sports show on YouTube. I said that Chris Middleton is Robin to Giannis's Batman. Chris Middleton didn't pick up a basketball for 4 months during quarantine. I'm going to say this right now. I said it on, I think, every show, the first, the second, and the third. If the Bucks don't make it to the NBA finals, the Greek Freak is leaving Milwaukee. How do you feel about that, Joe?
You think so? I don't.
No, I do. 100%.
Sure.
No doubt.
I want to say no because he seems so committed to the city and the organization. But how many times have we seen that? And then the guy's out the door the next day. So I can kind of see your point. Plus, one thing no one's talking about is with this whole bubble thing, which, by the way, I think the NBA is doing an amazing job with it. If you really think about what they're pulling off, it's quite extraordinary. But all this collusion and talking to people and tampering, it's happening every day. Don't think for a second that Kawhi, Paul George aren't talking to him. Don't think that people from the Golden State Warriors aren't shooting him text messages here and there, getting the chance to get a feel for Giannis and what he's all about. So, I mean, if there was ever an opportunity to kind of get in his ear and let him know that the grass might be greener on the other side, the bubble's the perfect opportunity for that.
100%. Listen, guys, thanks so much. Love having you on. Jeff, talk about your show And listen, guys, follow him on social media. Jeff, tell us how we could do it. I learned so much just sitting at the Alabama-Michigan game, talking to Jeff about college football. He is a genius when it comes to that. So talk about your show, and you could tell people who was the first ever winner of No Huddle Necessary. I believe it was me.
Absolutely. Monte pulled it off. Monte came on there and stole the show. What can I say? The beauty of being the host of No Huddle Necessary is I just moderate and judge. I don't have to make an argument. I leave it up to the writers to do that. And so far, I think we've had 2 great shows, and our third one's coming up this Wednesday at 9:00. You can catch us on YouTube and Twitter, and follow all of our writers on Nuts and Bolts Sports. The great, very talented people. So
Yes,
you can find.
one of the things that people said to me is like, he needs to work the camera a little better, like focus on the guys. But I tell everyone, it's a learning process. We're all learning how to do this. We're all learning how to show, make these graphics, like this graphic. It's a learning curve. So I had a great time on your show. I love the writers on 9 p.m. every Wednesday, correct?
Yes, actually, yes, that's correct. 9 p.m. every Wednesday, Eastern time.
And how can we follow you on social media?
You can follow me at Jeff Barnes 29, also at No Huddle Necessary, and also at Cover 2 Draft as well.
Jeff, post anything you want on my page. I have millions of followers, millions of hits on my page each month. So I want to promote you because when it comes to college football, like I said, I sat there in the press box and just talking to you was really the highlight of the game. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
All right. And now let's get Joe on. Joe, listen. Oh, there you go. Joe, we want to talk to you about Nuts and Bolts Sports. Tell us what's going on. And, right here you have a couple minutes to just talk about how you have taken this organization that you started and made it into a phenomenon.
Well, first, Monte, thanks for fulfilling your contractual obligation. I have you on your show once every 3 months. So what is this, July? So I guess I'm back in September. So appreciate
For those of you who don't know, every time Joe was on a podcast, I would joke and say, I'm contractually obligated to have Joe on the show. So you remember that.
I have to show people my face. People are like, who the hell is the Joe guy? So once in the blue moon, people know that I'm an actual living, breathing human being. But really, thanks for having me on the show, man. It's tremendous what you've been doing, you and Jeff. I told you guys I had zero doubts when we started this whole YouTube adventure. There'd be some bumps, but the bumps will be small, and we'd get this thing rolling. And I think we've definitely done that. I want to thank everybody for their support. Yeah, Nuts and Bolts Sports. How much time do we have? nutsandboltsports.com for all.
Rico's like, get off the stage, Joe. I don't want you to talk. I want camera time.
Roll the music. Nutsandboltsports.com. We cover everything. I mean, if it's a sport that's being played, we have 1 or 2 writers covering it. You can follow us on social media at Nuts and Bolts SP, and that's any platform, whether it be Instagram. We're even dabbling now in the TikTok game. So just at Nuts and Bolts SP is how you can follow us on all forms of social media. If you're into like humor and fun, you can follow me at my personal Twitter page, which is going to be at Joe CARDOSO 301. And yeah, man, just really blessed to have a tremendous team that keeps growing and growing, doing some amazing things. I mean, never in my wildest dreams that I think we'd have a off the field athlete social activism show. We had a live show yesterday. It was hosted by Zach Darbs, which was awesome. Had some great guests on there. So we're just expanding our reach, man. Just growing this thing. No pandemic's going to stop us.
Joe, the funny thing is when you have a solid anchor like myself, a building block, everything just sprouts from that. So, no, Joe, but you got to admit, Joe and I, we'll let you a little bit behind the curtain here. Joe and I did a practice run. There was nothing like this in the background, and we just pretty much learned on the fly how to do all this stuff. And it makes a difference. It makes a difference.
I'm always learning, man. My new line now, my motto for the rest of 2020 is relentless pursuit. Just being relentless and learn new things all the time, man.
You know what my new motto is? Drink on days ending in Y to help me get through this pandemic. That is my new thing. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you guys saw this, and I'll show this to Rico, who's watching right now. I posted this as my first meme.
Now that wasn't in the contract.
Listen, we lost the South right now. We lost Alabama, Texas, Mississippi. We'll get them back. We'll get them back as good college football. And then this was my favorite gift, Mr. Broccoli.
I do like that.
That was one of my favorite gifts right there. That broccoli is more popular than Daniel Snyder and James Dolan. Broccoli has a approval rating of 33%. James Dolan is at 17. Daniel Snyder is at 16%.
And you have to wonder who the 17% is on James Dolan.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll have you on down the road. Definitely watch for Jeff's show every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. And Joe, thank you for giving me the opportunity to just run with this and do whatever. Joe never limits me, no matter what I write, no matter what I say. He's like, go with it, Monte. So I appreciate that.
Lawyers always on standby.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Really appreciate you having me on. I mean, you guys haven't come on. Listen. Both of those guys. Listen, I want to thank Joe. Joe does an amazing, amazing job of coming on the show and just really, really giving us the opportunity to do what we want to do. We're going to bring on Rico. Show me the money, Graziano. Rico, couple things here. First, here is your little theme right there.
My opening meme. Is that what that
the
is?
opening meme. Very nice.
I just want to thank Joe for all the nuts and bolts gear that he sent me this week. I didn't ask for it. I got a shirt. I got a zip up, all nuts and bolts. Thanks, Joe.
And also, Rico, we're going to start at the end of this segment. We're going to start a thing where I don't know what it is. You're just going to rant and rave. It's called Rico's Rambling, and I took this from Napoleon Dynamite, Uncle Rico, and he says here, back in '92, I used to throw the pigskin a quarter mile. Just talking trash. We don't know what you're going to do. Rico, what is up with the background?
What are you talking about? You don't like the pick? I made them even so we can have a night. So I don't get no more people telling me that it's not level. That is level. I brought out the level and everything.
Blink twice if you need to be rescued.
By the way, somebody called me and asked me this week. They said, "Is Monte a dancer?" And I was like, "Why would?" I didn't. My mind exploded for a solid minute. Why she would ask if you were a dancer? And I said,
"Oh, it's a she." I like that.
Yeah. Yes, it's a she. So I said, he's a good-looking guy, but his sports knowledge makes him actually really like good-looking.
Wow, Rico. So I turn you on by my sports knowledge? Is that what you're saying?
Sports knowledge. If you were a woman and you were a lot prettier and about 100 pounds thinner, maybe. But anyway, so I didn't understand what she was talking about. She goes, "Well, the full Monty. Why does he call it the full Monty? Was he a dancer?" So not that, Jen's a very smart woman for her to ask that question. So I told her I'd ask you the question. Why is it called the full Monty? I already know, but just so she
Rico,
from the
know this and you're being shy and you're not telling this because you don't want the audience to know. But I had a small part in Magic Mike. And that's really where I started to get the confidence, because when you're dancing next to, professional models and dancers and you're holding your own, I hope everyone is picturing Chris Farley and Patrick Swayze from Saturday Night Live, me dancing, because that's basically what it was. No, yes, Rico, I am Latin, so of course I'm a good dancer. What are you talking about?
Well, I know your sister's a great dancer. I've hung out with her once before. She's a really great person, but she dances no matter what. But I was surprised when she thought that about you, because you don't come off as a dancer to me.
Really?
From shoulder
what do I
up.
come off as, Rico? What do I come off as?
Well,
Whoa!
Sports genius. That's what you come off as. As soon as I see you, I say to myself, that gentleman right there knows everything there is to know about sports and some about politics.
Rico, we changed the background up for you because I want you to talk about Antonio Brown. Announced his retirement this week. He has all the talent in the world, 6 straight seasons of 100 catches, and now he's gone. Do you think he'll return? Do you like the background, first of all?
I love the background. It's kind of like that background. You like that?
No, wait. Move to the right so people can see that. Move to the right. First of all, you put the Steelers right behind your enormous head, so you can't see the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, I don't want Pittsburgh to overtake what I'm talking about. I don't want people to think that I'm partial to a certain team. And I will remove myself from the Antonio Brown question, which was, is he really going to stay retired and what's he going to do? I think he has a tough situation that if Colin Kaepernick was blackballed for what he did, Antonio Brown will never see a professional football field again. He had Tom Brady, of all players, the son of the NFL at the moment right now, who is more entitled than any player I've ever seen, pushing for him to come back, to come to Tampa Bay, pushing, fighting. And even Tampa Bay was like, no, we do not want this guy. And if Tom Brady is giving you a recommendation to come play with him at minimum wage, whatever they were going to give him, and the team is saying no, it's pretty much, it's a wrap. His career's a wrap. I think he's just trying to get ahead of it when, by the end of the season, when nobody wants to touch him again. There's too many open cases that are by law closed, but by the NFL that are still open, that since he's not a player, there's no real investigations going. Once he decides to step back in the ring, then he gets put on the commissioner's list. Then they investigate all the things that he did. And so I think he might really be done. I think he knows it too, short of like a miracle. But I don't see him playing this year at all.
Rico, it's funny because, I talked about the Jets in the opening statement and this Jamal Adams. And, it's funny because they were 6-2 last year in their last 8 games. And my thought was, I'm going to use the Matrix quote here. Like you say this all the time. I was beginning to believe in the Jets, right? I was beginning to believe in the Jets. But they just traded Jamal Adams. And I know they got 2 number 1 picks. But when do the Jets ever develop their draft picks? They're not the Steelers. They're not the Patriots.
Well, the money was great. 2 number 1 draft picks. You can't beat it. I couldn't argue with that at all. I thought they got an amazing deal.
Yes, but do the Jets ever keep their draft pick, Rico? That's the point. This is over the last 7 years, Rico, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but over the last 7 years, this is the highlight of the Jets. This is what they're known for, the butt fumble.
Hey, people don't even know why Brett Buckner is famous, the baseball player who muffed the slow roll.
Because he's Bill Buckner, not Brett Buckner.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Bill Buckner. Yes, excuse me. But nobody knows why he's famous. But guess what? He's famous. That right there is why
this is the Jets, famous. Rico. This is what they're famous for. The butt fumble. I mean, come on, Rico. You don't trade Jamal Adams because I have no confidence that they're going to bring back legitimate talent.
Well, you trade him because you're not winning the Super Bowl for the next 2 or 3 years. I mean, any team that is at the Jets level that is not thinking of like, hey, maybe we'll be a playoff contender in 4 years is just crazy. And I know the fans like you and and I want to see the Jets win because
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I do. I always feel I'm an underdog guy. I always take the underdog. I always want to see the underdog, play well. Like even Cleveland Browns, they're in the Pittsburgh division. I like to see them do well because they're so bad. They're like the team that when they win, it's always a scrappy win, like some miracle happens, like a snowball or something, but it's always I like to see the Jets win. I think it was a smart move by them. I don't think he was going to make or break them into the playoffs this year, even if they had a great year.
Rico, I had a different shirt on today, and people are making fun of me because I always wear the white shirt. So Joe really needs to get on the horn and send us some nuts and bolts gear because people want to order it. I'm looking at the comments. Everyone says, "Hey, let's get some nuts and bolts gear. We'll order some shirts." Well, I don't know what you're wearing. Is that prison issued? What you're wearing?
Yes, actually, it is. It's very I went on a Zoom commercial audition, and they told me that I had to play a police officer, and it was the only blue shirt I had. So I had to film it this morning. So I just
how'd the audition go?
Well, I don't know because there's Zoom, so we send in the Zoom auditions. So I had to send it in this morning.
Did you put the full sports show background like you did here? Because that would definitely get you the job.
Oh yeah, totally. I did because then they know that I know criminals.
You know how to handle criminals. That may be the best line ever. So as someone who's going for a cop, you just told them, I know Monte, so I know how to handle criminals.
That's it. They'll see it in the background. They'll be like, oh wow, this guy, he really went deep in the role. He's got,
honestly, I would give you the role because you're Italian, you're from New Jersey. So if you're a cop and you're playing a cop, you really know how to act because let's face it, Italian, New Jersey, Sopranos, a lot of shady characters.
Yeah, it's not like I haven't had, limited interactions with police officers throughout my life. I know one or two, good, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
There you go. Rico, I'm sure a lot of cops who are on the take know you. and they treated you nicely. And I know a lot of cops who weren't on the take, who didn't know you, and they treated you poorly. Is that a fair assessment?
It's somewhat fair. I can't argue. It's tough, like Joe said. It's tough. I don't have the facts, but I'm not gonna disagree with it.
How about Joe said, "I have no facts, but I disagree with you."
The best line I've ever heard on a show in my life. I have no facts.
Basically, I have no facts against you, Monte, but I'm going against you.
I was crying, laughing. I said, I'm gonna take that to the bank with that one. And then the Brinks truck for Yankee players. Yeah. I love that. We back up the big Brinks truck and be like, hey, how much of this do you want to play for the Yankees? He's right. The good old days of George Sr.
All right, Rico. Listen, we see this in Major League Baseball. If you see the picture on the screen right there, we don't know if there's going to be fans in the stadium. If there is, I'm going to be talking about this on a segment at the end called The Extra Point. We don't know what's going to happen. We know that the Jets and the Giants said no fans, no fans. So how do you feel about home field advantage now? Does it matter if the Ravens – here's my thought process. If the Ravens are 12-2 with 2 games left, who cares about home field advantage, right? Does it matter now? You sit your guys, and if someone passes you and gets the number 1 seed, who cares?
Well, I think I agree with you on a lot of levels, but you're also the guy that's you're like many other people that I know that you talk about the traveling, the driving here, the flying there.
Rico, I have to stop you. That is not me. That is our friend Jared Milligan. My thing is so you just like Joe. I know nothing about you, but I'm just going to say something. You know, I say all the time, I can just win games. It doesn't matter if the schedule is unfair. Win games. So I don't care about the travel. So other fans may care. So you can continue your point.
Well, what it comes down to is that like Soldier Field is the smallest stadium in the NFL. It's 60,000 people. I am sure you can get away and figure something out for 5,000 people. At least let 5,000 people come and watch the game. It's ridiculous to go to 0, and I get it. Like, hey, bring your own food, bring your own mask. You know, maybe even hand out masks. Like we have our mandatory masks that come. We do a lottery on Monday. It's two tickets per person who wins the lottery. It's you. You can't sell these tickets. I mean, again, 60,000 person stadium. You could fit 5,000 to 10,000 people in that stadium with easily 6 feet between everybody. So I don't understand what
Rico,
this.
You know this.
Make a big difference.
You know this from being at games. You have a couple cocktails in you. Who's going to stop these guys from taking off their masks? I'll never forget the time I was at a sports bar in L.A. watching the Jets. When the Rex Ryan Jets went to the AFC Championship, they beat the Colts. I had people high-fiving me, hugging me, people I didn't know because they knew I was from New York. And I said, if the Jets win, my parents are coming out for the AFC Championship game. I want to see my parents. So everyone was happy. How are you going to stop people from wearing masks? Like people like me who are paranoid, like I posted this earlier, this is why you should wear a mask, right? I mean, just look at that. I mean, it's not you can't have a simpler, look at me. Riding my bike right here. Okay, I wear a mask all the time. How are you going to stop people from taking off their masks during a game?
Well, the same way you stop fighting, security guards. You just have people being
so you think a guy making $13 an hour is going to say, "Hey, dude, if you don't put on your mask, I'm escorting you out"?
Well, I think that the number was. I have a friend who's a police officer. Speaking of the police, who's a state police officer, and it's. I think one police officer per like 2,000 people at the stadium, and you just have the regular police working. You have the regular shift of the police, whatever they have, 100 police officers for no, I'm sorry. It was one police officer per 10,000 people at Giant Stadium. They have 100 police officers. I forgot the numbers are like that. They're crazy. You just have the police there working. I mean, they're going to be there anyway. They're going to have the full shift. The whole thing is still going to be there. State police. They're on a contract. They're there every week, no matter if there's one person in the stadium or 2,000 people in the stadium. And I think people respect that. I don't think you're going to, if you have no alcohol and you have people there, people want to be there. They'll respect the rule. And if not, they kick them out. I've seen them kick out worse people than, I mean, I think they should do it like that. I could be wrong.
Have you ever been kicked out of a football game?
Like, I'm right.
Have you ever been kicked out of a football game?
No, not yet.
Oh, so you plan? That's one of your bucket lists.
No, I'm just saying you never know. I'm never one of those people that throw away the yet. It can always be a yet. You never know.
All right. Well, I use Rex Ryan again, so people enjoy yourself with the shot. Rico, want to talk about the Steelers? This is your wheelhouse. What is your biggest concern going into this season? Here is mine on the outsider looking in. Pittsburgh, do they have a number one wide receiver? Can Juju Smith-Schuster catch 90 balls? And do they have a number one running back? I love James Conner, but I don't think he's getting you 1,200 yards.
The thing with both of those two players is that they've both been hurt in the last 2 years. They've both had injuries and they've both been hurt. So that's a big issue there alone. I think the cast behind them is average, which is good for what we've gotten them for. But my biggest concern is that fell back on what we were just talking about is Ben Roethlisberger is the most streaky. His road record is terrible, and his home record is phenomenal. He's by far probably in NFL history the most lopsided quarterback when it comes to away games or home games. Now, with no fans in the stadium, my thing is it going to be an away game every week for him or a home game every week for him? So, like the coin toss for me and the worry is that will Ben Roethlisberger be playing every game like he's playing at home where he's phenomenal, or will he be playing every game like he's away? You know,
My biggest concern is instead of watching film, is Ben Roethlisberger going to be watching porn? Because he said a few weeks ago he has a porn watching addiction.
I don't know what anybody does after the first 2 minutes, so that's way above my pay grade to talk about that.
So you watch porn for 2 minutes. That's it.
I'm a married man. Of course I do. No.
What is going on?
Exactly. What just happened? We just shot off the rails. So going back to Roethlisberger, like I said.
So Rico, do you give him?
He always at home. He watches the camera up top when he throws the football, like after every play. And I noticed quarterbacks at home. Drew Brees does it a lot when he's at home. Tom Brady always does it at the when he was in Foxborough. Every play after the play, they're watching the replay.
The big screen, yes.
Yeah,
okay, but my question is, you're a gambling man, you're a gambling degenerate, and I say that as a compliment.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Over under 35 touchdown passes for Big Ben.
Oh, over.
Really?
Over. Yeah, it's over. He's going to be throwing the ball like crazy because, like you said, Connor, if he gets hurt, they're not going to be handing the ball off to Benny Snead. You know, they're not going to be – I mean, they're going to be, but it's not going to be, Samuels. They're not going to – they're both two running backs from Pittsburgh. These guys aren't going to be featured. It's going to be a pass-heavy offense, just like it was 2 years ago.
Okay, so over under Juju Smith-Schuster, 90 catches.
Oh, that's an under. I was right when you asked.
So who's their number one wide receiver?
Well, 90 catches is a lot of catches. I think they have a bigger cast now than you think.
Listen, Robinson for the Bears had 97 last year, and he's not considered a number one wide receiver.
Well, I'm close on the number of 90. I'm very close on the number. I think Pittsburgh wants to keep him in that area because you throw it to him 100 times, then you might not be able to afford him next year because he's going to be in his last year of his contract. So it's one of those weird things again.
So, okay, yes or no? Is Juju Smith-Schuster a number one wide receiver, and is James Conner a number one running back?
James Conner is definitely a number one running back. The injuries is his problem, but Juju, my friend Levy from last week keeps talking me into it. He's like, he's a number one. He's a number one. I don't believe he's a number one, but I am the only one, but that's just because I'm so angry about. I felt like he gave up on the team last year. I felt like he just kind of.
By the way, is it Levy or Levi? Because I called him Levi during the whole interview.
No, it's Levi, but I think like he's very Jewish, so I've heard his brother call him Levi, but it's Levi. Everybody calls him Levi. Sometimes I just want to make him feel like I'm part of the people.
Rico, what does it mean to be very Jewish? I don't know if I want to go down.
His family calls him Levi. They don't call him Levi. I guess Levi is just more of it's spelled the same way. So I don't know. That's the way. I'm just watching from the outside in. That's what I'm doing here. When I see.
Okay, I'm going to say this. Rico, look at me when I say this. Look at me when I say this.
I'm looking.
Everyone keeps telling me you got to give Rico more airtime, and I'm saying you have to give him less because he is going to say something like Levi is very Jewish that is going to cause me nightmares.
No, there's levels. There's levels. Like the better you become, the more you move up in Hollywood, the more Jewish I've noticed people become. So it's like
I am going to stop
levels.
this conversation
right
right
yeah,
now.
let's slip
I'm going
off
to
that
stop
one.
this
Let's go
conversation.
there. I don't
For
want to
all
make
the
my rant
people,
about that.
for everyone who says we need to give Rico more airtime, I just proved why we need to give him less airtime. Rico is perfect when he's under the confines of what I give him. When he ad libs, he's crazy. Let's just go to this because we need a distraction right now. So let's just go to the broccoli guy. Let's just go to the All right, Rico. Listen, I know it's early, but give us your offensive MVP and your defensive player of the year, and then we're going to get to Rico's rambling, which is what you're just going to talk about. I hope it's not about being more Jewish, by the way.
No, not at all. I like Drew. We're talking for Pittsburgh, or we're talking for the NFL.
No, for the entire NFL.
I think Drew Brees is going to be throwing the ball like crazy. I have a feeling he's going to be MVP.
Hey, would you take Emmanuel Sanders as your number 3 or number 2? I'm sorry, your number 2 wide receiver this year in fantasy football, or no way?
No way. There's too many. The fantasy football wide receivers are so deep this year. You can get Amari Cooper's going in the 3rd or 4th round. So
you don't like Emmanuel Sanders as a number 2 wide receiver on your fantasy football team?
No, you could probably get somebody better. He would be on my bench or be my number 3 for a flex spot, maybe. But there's
so you're saying 70 touchdowns, 70 catches, 8 touchdowns is not good for him.
No, that's good for him. That's good. But is that going to happen? We don't know. Drew Brees throws it everywhere. He peppers the field after he hits the what's his name, Michael Thomas 200 times. Michael Thomas is a potential MVP also. I really want to see him get it because it'll be the first time a wide receiver got MVP in the National Football League. So, and I think for defense, I think it'll be. I know I'm partial to this, but T.J. Watt.
I agree with you. He's better than his brother at this point.
Way better than his brother, and I think he's getting ready. And Pittsburgh's about to back up the Brinks truck for him also. So I think he's gonna. They come from a family of you pay me, I'll show you. I'll work harder. Not like most players in the NFL, where once you pay me, I'll take a little bit of a break. He comes from a different stock.
It's funny because Julio just was commenting. He said, Monte, that's what the mute button is for when Rico starts to ramble. But Rico, we're at that point of the show where let's point this again from, this is a great scene from the movie Napoleon Dynamite where Uncle Rico says, I used to throw the pigskin a quarter mile and his nephew believes him. Rico, this is Rico's rambling. Talk about whatever you want. The mic is yours.
Thank you. First, before I did you talk about Lou Williams at all from the Clippers?
Yes, I did. Lou Williams went to a strip club, and now
I know. I just saw that.
By the way, here's live video of Lou Williams throwing money at the strippers. Rico, I'm going to ask you this from someone who I know has been to several strip clubs in his lifetime before he was married. Is going to a strip club and getting a lap dance worth missing out on an NBA championship?
Not worth missing out. Worth collapsing the whole NBA bubble. That's never mind that. Don't get me wrong. I get it. I'm more shocked that it's an essential business. Where I can't even go sit down in Cantor's Deli, but yet this guy's going to strip clubs getting lap dances.
You're saying that strip clubs should be an essential business?
Obviously they are. If he's going to strip clubs, they must be an essential business. I did not know that. I can't even sit down in a Starbucks in Los Angeles. This guy, he's in strip clubs. I mean, and again, I get it. I understand. Every once in a while, you got to break the law and put, the whole, $1 billion franchise because, you got to go. I don't understand why.
Okay, Rico, let's start with Rico's rambling. Here we go, Rico. Rico's rambling. The camera's on you.
Thank you. My thing goes on with Tom Brady and the collective bargaining agreement with the NFL because what happens with the NFL and the collective bargaining agreement is that Tom Brady has been doing illegal workouts pretty much. And now he's teaching the younger quarterbacks like Kyle Murray to do it. Now, the collective bargaining agreement says that players can't practice with each other during the off season. They have a voluntarily training camp that they don't have to go there, but they can if they would like to, and that's at the start of the football season. So players like Tom Brady who feel they're above the law and above the rule, they do what they want to do. And the thing is with that is that guys like him know where, like, it's like when you go to the mall and it says parking for 30 minutes. Park there. Who's going to give you a ticket? What, the security guard? What kind of ticket is he going to give you? Nothing. So if there's nobody to enforce the rules, because the players don't enforce it. The Players Association doesn't enforce it. Neither does the NFL. They don't enforce it. So why not? Break the rules. Who cares? And the thing with what Tom Brady's trying to do is the reason the Yankees don't have their names on the back of their uniforms is because they said no one player is bigger than the Yankees. And that's true for all of baseball. Basketball, on the other hand, is the opposite, where basketball, a player defines the team. NFL is like baseball. No one player defines the team themselves. Guys like Tom Brady, and there's certain guys out there that believe that they're above and that they are. He thinks he's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know what? 2 years, you'll be remembered as nobody will care that you were on Tampa Bay because you didn't win a Super Bowl, or you might win a Super Bowl, whatever the case may be. You'll be forgotten in 5 years. And also, what gets me annoyed is that they don't protect. They don't protect their own players. The rookies come in a year in a job that has a 3-year shelf life. That these rookies come in and they have a 4-year. They're trapped in a 4-year contract of a 3-year shelf. Like, they don't get benefits till they are in the NFL for 4 years. So you could work your whole life, destroy your back, your knees, your legs, everything, and then in your 3rd year get cut from your team and have nothing and roll with zero.
Rico, I'm confused here. You're saying that Tom Brady is doing whatever he wants and
Yes.
he's not showing any regard, but then you're saying that you're disagreeing with Tom Brady as a player doing what he's doing, but you want to protect the players because, and I'm going to talk about this in the next segment real quick. You're saying that the players are in an average lifespan is 3 years, and there's no protection for them because they have to sign a 4-year contract.
What I'm saying is that it's the Players Association, the Players Association that protects the players. They do nothing. They're not really protecting them unless they don't enforce their own rules. They fought for this. We don't want you to play during the off season because we don't want you to see you get hurt. But yet then they turn around and they're like, well, we'll sell the rookie soul for 4 years. What I'm saying is I feel like their union needs to step up and enforce the rule. Tom Brady, stop teaching guys like Kyle Murray that they can practice off season. What's the fine? Oh, $200,000. Really? The guy makes $25 million a year. Do you think he really cares about $200,000? A matter of fact, this cleaning lady probably makes $200,000. So what I'm saying is that I think that certain players, and I think that the union and the NFL Players Union needs to step up on multiple levels of starting to be the police and starting to protect their players and start protecting the rules that they lay down. So I don't know how we get off into that.
No, listen, you bring up a great point. You're saying that if it wasn't for the coronavirus, you would not care what Tom Brady does. But you're saying he's jeopardizing everything the NFL is working for, correct?
Well, besides besides that fact, he's been doing this for years. If there's a rule and you're breaking the rule and there's nobody to enforce it, why not keep breaking the rule? It was set. So like Tom Brady calls you, you're a wide receiver. Hey, I'm going to be doing some illegal workouts at my house. Why don't you come over? What are you going to say? No, you go. Tom Brady's calling you to come over. So like the guy has he should not be allowed to do stuff like that. And then you have a guy who's sophomore year, Kyle Murray, doing the same thing. If you want this quarterback to throw the ball to you, you're going to say yes. You're going to take the bite and you're going to break the rules of your own union to do it. There's no consequences to breaking the union rules in the NFL. Unless you smoke marijuana, then they suspend you for life 4 different times.
Well, yes, but they just, that they just changed the rule for that. So, so that's good. Listen, we saw Brett Favre golfing with Trump. Brett Favre has a history of addiction. And one of the reasons why Brett Favre was addicted is because instead of smoking marijuana, his medical staff would give him painkillers every day. So he would take Percocet, he would take these pills, and he said he was taking 24 a day. He was taking 24 a day. So I agree with you. Listen, the Players Association and what you're saying listen, there it was. Rico's ramblings. Love to have that. Rico, I wanted to give you music, but everything's copyrighted. So I'm just going to go with Napoleon Dynamite and Uncle Rico. And we'll see you next week. And tell Levi, what do you call him again?
Levy.
Levy.
I call him Levi depending on who I'm around. I don't want to insult anybody. But I just saw the comment that the broccoli is missing the rubber band because I stole the rubber band to wrap my money around it, just to let you know. Put the broccoli back up dancing.
Okay, okay, there you go.
See? Oh, there's his rubber band. See it on top?
Band.
That's my money rubber band. I'm the guy who steals the rubber band at the store, at the supermarket from the broccoli.
Why do you do that?
My wallet.
Rico, show the Pittsburgh Steelers thing, please, behind you, because you can't see it. All right, there you go. Rico, we'll see you next week. Thanks so much. Always tremendous job. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe, for all the nuts and bolts stuff.
All right, that was Rico. Show me the money, Graziano. Listen, just so you know, this show is not going to be 2 hours every week. Next week, we're going to start doing it. It's going to be from 11 to 12:30. So we just went along because it's been the first couple of weeks. And, Rico's Ramblings is a new segment of this show. And my new segment is Monte's Extra Point. Look at that. Now, people are like, oh, you're so anti-referee with this thing. But I'm not. My brother Pete says all the time when he's watching a game and he doesn't have a dog in the fight, he says, I'm rooting for the referee. So this is a little misleading, but this is Monte's Extra Point. So, in March 11th, 2020, the NBA stopped their season. Okay? The Toronto Blue Jays are now going to play in Buffalo because the government in Canada does not want Americans to travel to their city and spread the coronavirus. We're seeing fake cutouts right here. We're all glad that sports is back, but people, this is not normal. This is not normal. To see this, don't mistake this for normal. This is what I want to see. I want to see the Lakers win in Staples Center and Jack Nicholson celebrating with the team. That's what I want to see. This is not normal. Okay? This is not normal. Every industrialized modern country in the world has flattened the curve on the coronavirus. I live here in Florida, and I joked around about this, but this is what it's like going out to supermarkets. This is what it's like dealing with the coronavirus. We've been here in this situation since February, and this is not normal. This is not normal. Don't normalize this. Now, look, they're talking about kids going back to school in September. And I'm going to end with this. The NFL owners, okay, are the greediest people in the world. Woody Johnson, Jerry Jones, okay, Daniel Snyder. Okay, these people are so greedy. Think about this, guys. Think about this. They don't even pay their players. Tom Brady, who Rico just mentioned, does not get paid for preseason. They pay 4 games. They get a per diem. They get meal money like they're college students. Okay? The NFL owners are the greediest people in the world. And they're telling Americans, you cannot come to the games. If you come to the games, you have to wear a mask. And instead of holding a full sellout crowd of 65, 70,000, they're going to allow 10,000 fans. I mean, we're seeing this all over the country. So this is what I'm going to say. If the NFL owners are telling you that the coronavirus is real, if the NFL owners who are so greedy are saying we're going to lose $100 million minimum, they're telling you all you need to know. We don't have leadership in this country. I don't have leadership here in Florida. So be very careful when you decide to send your kids to school when guys like this are giving up $200 million. I'm not telling you how to vote. I'm not telling you how to think. I don't have kids. But when stadiums are empty and the owners are losing millions and millions of dollars, don't send your kids to school until this is over. I want to thank everyone for joining the full Monte Sports Show. We had Jay DeGroat, Chuck Mogensen, A. Marie, Daniel Goodwin, Joe Cardoza, Jeff Barnes, and of course, Rico Show Me the Money Graziano. You've been listening to the full Monte Sports Show. I want to thank all our guests, did a tremendous job. And of course, in the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.